You didn't pay a cent for that app on your phone. Not for the maps, not for the search engine, not for the social feed you scrolled through this morning. And yet, those apps are built by some of the most valuable companies that have ever existed, run by people worth more than entire countries combined. So here's the obvious question nobody quite wants to ask out loud. If you never paid them anything, where exactly is all that money coming from? There's an old saying from the early internet that turned out to be more literal than anyone expected. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. That sounds a little dramatic, so let's actually prove it. Let's follow the money, starting from the exact moment you open an app, all the way to the boardroom of a trillion-dollar company, and see precisely what you're handing over in place of cash. Here's the part almost nobody thinks about. A free app isn't really selling you anything. It's building something out of you and then selling that. Every scroll, every pause, every like, every search, every location ping gets logged. On its own, one data point is worthless. A single like tells a company almost nothing. But stacked together, day after day, month after month, those tiny signals become a shockingly accurate profile. What you're interested in, what you're worried about, what stage of life you're in, sometimes what you're about to buy before you've consciously decided to buy it yourself. Some platforms track hundreds of these small signals per user per day, quietly in the background, without ever asking again after that first permission screen. That profile is the actual product, not the app you're using, not the content you're watching. You're not the customer of a free app. You're the raw material it runs on. So who actually pays for a raw material like that? Advertisers. Specifically, advertisers who no longer want to shout the same ad at everyone and hope it lands. They want to pay for precision, a message shown only to people who are statistically likely to actually want it. And that's the real business model underneath almost every free app. It isn't selling you a product, it's selling advertisers access to your attention, sorted and labeled by exactly what you care about. This is why a handful of the world's largest companies generate the overwhelming majority of their revenue from advertising alone, despite giving their core product away for nothing. The more accurately an app can predict what you want, the more an advertiser will pay to reach you through it. Which means the app's real incentive was never to make you happy. It was to make you predictable, because predictable is what sells. And here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. The more time you spend inside an app, the more data it collects, and the more ad space it can sell. So these apps aren't neutral tools quietly waiting for you to show up. Many are deliberately engineered, using teams of behavioral scientists and product designers to keep you scrolling as long as possible. Infinite feeds that never show a natural stopping point, so there's no moment that feels like done. Notifications timed algorithmically to interrupt you right when you're statistically most likely to check. Small, unpredictable rewards, a like, a message, a new photo, that trigger the same dopamine response as a slot machine, because unpredictable rewards are proven to be far more addictive than predictable ones. None of this is accidental. It's the direct, deliberate result of a business model where your attention, not your satisfaction, is the thing generating revenue. And here's the twist that reframes the whole thing. Calling these apps free was never quite accurate. You're paying, just not in a currency you're used to tracking. You're paying in attention, in the hours of your day that quietly funnel toward a feed instead of anywhere else. Hours that don't come back. You're paying in data, a profile detailed enough that companies can predict things about your future behavior before you've consciously realized them yourself. And in some cases, you're paying with your mood, because a platform optimized purely for engagement doesn't actually care whether what keeps you scrolling makes you feel good or just makes you feel unsettled enough to check again in 5 minutes. None of that shows up on a receipt. There's no total weighting at the bottom of the screen, but the transaction is completely real. It's just been designed so carefully that you almost never notice you're making it. So the next time you open an app that never once asked for your credit card, remember what's actually happening underneath the screen. Your behavior is being logged, packaged, and sold to the highest bidder. And the app itself is engineered to keep that supply chain running for as long as it possibly can. It's not free. It's just a price you never see itemized. So what do you think? Worth it for the convenience? Or would you rather pay actual money and keep your attention to yourself? Tell me below. If this helped to click subscribe, every week Otto breaks down how the world actually works. Next time, why the rich keep getting richer almost automatically. See you then.